Hello everyone, welcome back to Turquesa. This is Evie and today I'm going to be sharing my first video using the DecoArt products. Now I'm going to be using the Writers and this is going to be a stained glass look type of project on ATC. So I'm using the Dazzling metallics and this one is an acrylic dimensional paint, and I'm going to compare that one to the 3D opaque gloss enamels, which are for glass, and they're also the Writers. So I already went over my little design and I'm gonna let it dry. Now this is today after letting it dry overnight, and I will be working into those areas today as if it was a stained glass window or piece. So I use the silver to imitate the lead that you would use to divide your glass on stained glass. And now I'm going to show you the one that I use for each. So I use the 3D opaque glass enamels for the eye one. And since they have those little tips, and I had that color, that's what gave me the idea to do something that would resemble a stained glass effect. So that's it, all dried up and it's puffy and nice and hard. And then this one's the one with the Dazzling metallics, which is sparkly, but see, it's darker. It's like a pewter silver. So they both look different, but I like them both. And I'll be showing a chart with all of them written out on black cardstock and white cardstock. But see, that's the Dazzling metallics close up once it's dried, and it has those little like mica shimmers in it. And that's the one I'm gonna be working on. It's like a little lion, baby lion, and I'm gonna be using those colors, which I will write down in the description box, but I'm kind of showing them to you so that you get an idea of the color scheme that I'm trying to use. And I do not want to paint it one same color. I want to kind of play with the shades of the color, but with different tones in each section so that it looks like it's little pieces of glass that are held together by that lead wannabe, which I created by using the Writers. So I'm starting out with some yellow for the eye. And I will be using some speeding up for some of the areas, because if I left it full time, it was like an hour or something, because I created two projects for this video and I want to share both of them together because they're just little tiny ATCs, but I worked on both of them. And since especially this one had a lot of layers, it took some time, even though I'm editing and cutting away like the parts where I went to get the paint and things like that. I'm still taking my time and enjoying the process. So I will slow down where I'm mixing the colors so you get to see how I'm using only those two colors to create my different shades of that orange. So I'm using the lightest tone for the bridge of his nose, because it would be like the lightest part of his face. And I'm carefully going inside of my area, which is determined by my puffy paint created by the writer. So see, now I'm speeding up the process so you get to see the whole thing, but not wait for me to do that real time. And I went back in and retouched some of the areas that were lighter. And this paper is just it's a sheet from the Canson mixed media pad. I just tore one out and cut it into little ATC size pieces. So now I got it a little bit darker, more on the orangey side, and I almost dipped it in the brown tone. And I'm gonna do that little section over his eye with that brighter orange color. I was able to create all of this piece with the DecoArt products that I got yesterday, except for the brush. The brush I already had. And there goes Chloe, sorry. So now I have my first two oranges. Now I'm gonna get it darker because the nose will be creating a shadow. So I'm adding a little bit of that burnt sienna color. I think it's burnt sienna. And I will add that to his cheek, underneath his little nose. And there's just going to be a slight difference in tones, but just enough to separate each little piece. See, that's how it's looking with those three that I've used so far. And now I'm going to get it a little bit darker for that other little corner. I'm cleaning first, but now I'm going to use a little bit of a darker shade.
8 o'clock.
And now you know the time. See, I'm making it a little bit darker to add it to that little corner that was left. So I forgot, I was so into it last night that I forgot to record when I was doing the writer part. I thought I had pressed it, but I'm using, what's the name of that program? QuickTime Player to record. And there's like a few steps that you use before you start your video, and sometimes I think that I've pressed it and I haven't. So I need to remember to look up and see if the little counter is going. So I was going to use that darker brown tone on his nose, but it was too close to the cheek part, so I decided to add some white to it. So you see me starting like that, but then I keep getting lighter to get a little bit more of a contrast. So that's his little nose, and that's me adding a little bit more white into it. I love that little face that came out. And I think that these pieces, subconsciously, I must be remembering like the videos I've been watching. I didn't notice yesterday when I was drawing it out. I was trying to do simple shapes that I could work with because I was thinking of a stained glass piece. And then when I was finished today and I'm looking at them, I was like, oh, this must have been a pocket art type of inspiration because of all of the cats that were shared by all of my friends at the Creative Arts Collaboration and all the videos that I watched. But I didn't even notice that my little lion cub might have been influenced by that. It just came out like that. And then when I created the eye and I was painting it today, I'm like, ooh, this sort of reminds me of Shannon Green's little icon on her Facebook. So yeah, I guess we get inspired indirectly or directly by the videos that we watch here on YouTube. And at least I can sort of identify where they came from. But sometimes you just watch different things and then you make it your own and they just come out differently. So that's the piece finished. I'm gonna add some liquid glass and I'm gonna try this for the first time, and that's also from DecoArt, from the media product line. And I'm used to using liquid, not liquid pearls, glossy accents all the time. So I was expecting some like a thinner type of liquid to come out, but I had a little bit of a hard time pressing that out. So I finally got it out, and it is thicker. So what I was thinking of doing, which is what I do with the glossy accents, is that I fill in my spaces and they just kind of like go together, and you don't have to work at it too much. You work on the edges, then you keep filling it towards the inside. This one doesn't move, so wherever you put it, it stays as you press. So I started out by flattening out and filling up the area with a brush, and I didn't like the texture that I was getting, so I kept on going on the side, and then I just went in with my finger and I started spreading the whole area to cover it with the liquid glass and to get it flatter, because I didn't want it to be raised, because then it would be too close to the division effect that I was creating with the writer. So I wanted it to shine so it looked like glass, but I didn't want it to be on the same level as the writer was. So that's why I was looking for ways in which to make it flatter but fill the whole space with that product. Now for the eye area, I did keep it thicker just because I wanted it shinier, and I wanted it to be puffed up a little bit more so it would stand out from the flat areas. Kind of to give it a little bit of dimension, but not much. So yeah, I'm starting to get used to, by trying, I start to get used to it, to the product a little bit more, and I'm sure as I keep on using it, I'll get more and more used to it. But this is the first time that I was trying all of these products and playing around with them. So the paints worked beautifully. I love the colors and the texture of the paint. It's not too thin and it's not too thick. The writers, some of them I like better than the others. Some of them I could control more of the line that I was creating. So now I'm going in and drying it. At some point I got a little bit too close, and the little writer started bubbling up. But I dried the whole piece, and there were like two little teeny tiny areas that I had not reached into, so I went in and covered those areas, dried it again, and that's what my little ATC stained glass effect looks like. So it's shiny, see, there you see it more, and bright and simple shapes to create it. Really liked that technique. So this is a sample card that I created for the 3D gloss enamel, the glass writers. So the top one is the 3D frost in white, then you see the opaque and the acrylic dimensional, and then I'll show you closer. These I'm sharing them before they dried, so these were recent, like I had just applied them when I filmed this, so they're not fully dry in this part of the video. I will share it again towards the end of the video, and they were completely dried at that time. So they are, see, some of them I was expecting something completely different, but like the acrylic dimensional white is way more opaque and thicker than the opaque glass writer, of course, because that's meant to be worked on glass. But I just wanted these products for the dimension of it. So, and then that's the gloss enamels transparent. I really like the glitter on that one. But then when I used the craft one was too liquid to work with, These are the enamel glass writers in Frost Black, which is the top one, and then the 3D Opaque, which is the second one, and then the Americana Dimensional Writer. So you'll see that the dimensional writers are acrylic, and they're way more dense in their color, pigment, and thickness. The 3D Opaque is shinier because it's meant for glass. And the Frost, the only thing I found about the Frost ones is that since they have those little glitter bits in it, they kind of skip, and they're not as easy to control as the other ones. So that's the Opaque Lavender and the Opaque Dark Chocolate, and then the last one is the Frost Turquoise, which I found to be very liquid for the writer. Now these are the gold. So the first ones are the 3D Opaque enamel writers, and the ones at the bottom are the Dazzling metallics in gold and in silver. And the last one is the Craft Twinkle Crystal. That one I'm not too happy with. I find it that it's too liquid for the type of thing that I wanted to use it for. So those are the golds and the silvers in the Dazzling metallics and in the 3D opaques for the glass writers. And you can see the difference in the thickness of the Dazzling metallics and in the sheen in the Dazzling metallics. I really like the Dazzling metallics. I had not tried them before. Really like them. And the opaque glass markers are okay, but when I compared them to the writers in the Dazzling metallics, I like the Dazzling metallics more. So now I started with the eye. Forgot to turn on the camera again. I'm so sorry. But I only used the two colors that I already had in my palette. And then I went and got the other colors, because I have everything divided by product in little boxes for storage. So I went back and opened up all of the ones that I used. I'm opening up all of those products as I use them today. So I'm gonna go into the eye area to create the white parts, and I already have the same yellow and the same orange that I used for my little lion pup. And now I brought all these pretty colors out, so I'm opening them and everything while I was working on this. But I did speed that up so you wouldn't have to wait for me to open everything. So the first one that I'm going to be showing you is the Lavender Fields. That's the little lavender purpley color that I used. Then of course Sea Breeze, love that color, it's so pretty. Then the Citron Green, also love the Citron Green. Carousel Pink, and those are the colors that I chose to go with the orange and the yellow that I had already picked. Oops, and I hit the camera right there. So now I'm preparing my palette with the rest of the colors that I will be using. And I forgot to shake that lavender a little bit more. It looked darker on the like in the bottle, but then when I started pressing it down on the paper, it looked even prettier because it was lighter. So I did mix it a little bit more in the palette and then applied it again. Really pretty colors. So now I'm going to go back into all of the little areas and use those colors to make that bright little stained glass look. That Sea Breeze, look at it, it's so pretty. I love it. I love my aquas and my turquoises, can you tell? And I love how it looks like with that lavender. The orange is splitting it up, so just to create contrast, but I love how those two look, so I think I'm going to use that combination in something else. So yeah, this was an experiment with all of these products to try them out, and I'm also making them in an ATC format so that they're kind of like samplers. I can kind of, if I don't decide to send them out, because I usually don't keep what I make unless I make it in my journals. Whatever I make that's out of my journals, I always do it because they're meant for someone, or unless they're on the canvases, which most of the canvases I've done for my home. So now I'm using that Carousel Pink, and that pink I had to do it twice because it was not as solid as the other ones for some reason. I don't know if I didn't shake it well enough or what, but I had to go into that twice. Because it did not apply, it didn't go on as flat as the other ones did. It kind of had like some shades into it, and I didn't want that effect on this piece. Now I'm using the Citron, and it's a happy psychedelic type of eye, so the eyelashes are splitting bright happy colors. So now I'm thinking whether or what type of color I want to use for the oh my god, the iris, because I don't want to use any of the colors that I used outside, and I was thinking of going and to get a darker blue, but I love the color combination so much that I didn't want to really add another color. So I'm mixing the Sea Breeze with the Citron and sort of creating a new color out of those two. And visually that sort of like brings you into the center. So it's like a new blue-green. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun working with these, and I am so happy with the products that I tried so far. Really, I would say that the only two that I wasn't super happy about were the turquoise writer that I think I'm gonna shake more and see if that works better to get it thicker, and that craft twinkle writer. I just found that way too liquid to work with for the type of projects that I work on, and even more if I use it with kids or someone who's not used to painting and to art, because it's just harder to control. And the glitter also, I found that it didn't come out in, I don't know, the way it came out, it wasn't covering the whole area. It was like there were like some areas with a lot of it and some areas with not, and I shook it a lot, but it just didn't work out like I wanted to. So this is my center. I used the black tie to create that center, and that's the finished piece. Okay, and the other thing that I worked on last night, and I'm not gonna color it today, but here are the two pieces finished. One has the liquid glass and the other one doesn't, but they both look fun. But the other thing that I worked on was this little piece of packaging that I wanted to try it on acetate, but I couldn't find my acetate pieces. So I took this little package piece and I created my little stained glass. Yeah, so it's an old, really old packaging that I had saved in my stash. And I went in and I created that little freehand outline drawing, and I didn't draw this. That one just freehand. I was drawing with a writer, so I left that overnight to dry. And I still don't know if I'm going to use alcohol inks to color it. So thanks for your visits. Bye. Take care, everyone.